First, the USDA's Justice for All non-discriminatory statement, which simply states that all persons must be treated equally without regard to their race, color, national origin, sex, religious creed, disability, age, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity, and that our institution provides an inclusive space for all. For more information on the And Justice for All statement, please visit the USDA's website.
And I'm a project manager with ISLES, which is a community development and environmental nonprofit based in Trenton, New Jersey. And today I'd like to thank Rutgers Cooperative Extension, Department of Family and Community Health Sciences, and Rutgers SNAP Ed for making this video possible. And today our vegetable is sweet potato. So we're going to learn all about sweet potatoes in this video. The first thing is, it's February, and our featured vegetable is sweet potatoes. And obviously, sweet potatoes are not growing in February. If you look outside, it's snowing. Not much is growing at all. So why is our vegetable sweet potatoes? Well, sweet potatoes are a storage crop. So that means I can store them for a really long time, and they're still going to be good to eat. And in New Jersey, I typically plant my sweet potatoes in the month of June after the frost. So there's no chance of frost at that time, and I plant, they're called like slips. They're basically the leaves and the roots of the sweet potatoes. That goes in the soil, and then over time the potatoes start to grow. And they take a long time to grow. So I plant them in June. I'm probably not going to harvest them until mid-September, early October. But the other great thing about sweet potatoes is we're used to eating the tuber, which is the part that's underground, and which is the potato itself, but you can also eat the leaves, and they're delicious. And maybe sometime in the future we can do a video about the sweet potato leaves. You won't really find them in too many grocery stores, so we probably have to do that video over the summer, but they are also delicious and good for you. But let's get back to the actual potato itself. So I harvest this in June, and I'm just stirring because I'm prepping for what we're going to make in about a few minutes. I'll harvest this in October, right? And then why do I still have a sweet potato in February? Well, I have to let it cure for a little bit. So that's just a process that's going to make, it kind of makes the skin harder, and it's going to prevent it from rotting. So what I do is I'll leave that out in a cool, dry area for a period of time until they are cured. When I harvest them, I don't want to wash them. Adding any moisture would make the sweet potatoes rot. So I leave them, leave them kind of dirty. I'll leave them on the table, and then they're storing for a really long time, and they'll last me throughout the winter. And this is really important before we have electricity or refrigeration to keep people nourished, because as you've probably guessed, sweet potatoes are really nutritious. So this potato is packed with vitamin A, potassium, fiber, B vitamins, protein, so you're getting a lot of nutrients from these sweet potatoes, and that's really going to help your body do everything that it needs to do to stay healthy and to continue to function. But of course, I don't want to only eat food because it's nutritious for me. I want my food to taste really good as well. So today we're going to do a recipe that's going to make sure to highlight sweet potatoes and show how delicious they are, and we're going to add some other toppings to it to make it good. So let's get started. We are going to be making a baked sweet potato, and we're going to make some fun toppings for it. So the first thing I do is I preheat my oven to 400 degrees. Now there's two ways I can do this. I can take my sweet potato whole, and I can cook it that way. If I do it this way, I want to poke some holes in it with a fork, and I don't want to cover it in foil because the foil is going to make the skin soggy, and it's not going to taste as good. So I would put it in the oven with the holes poked in it. You can put it on a baking tray, but you can also just put it directly on your oven sheet, and you want to cook it for about an hour in that case. Now, you might want to do that method because sweet potatoes are really hard to cut, but if that's too much time, if you're thinking 60 minutes in the oven, I have to wait for this to cook, we can shorten the time by cutting our sweet potato up. So in this sweet potato, I've cut it up into fourths, and this is going to cut my baking time in half. It's going to be about 30 minutes instead of the 60. Sometimes, depending on your oven, it might take a little bit longer. All right, so I got my baking tray. I'm going to take my sweet potatoes. I'm going to just coat them in olive oil, just like this. All right, and then I'm going to add a little bit of salt to them. I'm just sprinkling. All right, and then like rub them together. Okay, I'll put those on my baking sheet face down. Rub them together, get all that olive oil everywhere. Baking sheet, that's what they're going to look like. I kind of spread them out so that they cook. And they are going in the oven for about 30 minutes. My oven has been preheated to 400. All right, so now let's get to our toppings. This is a really fun recipe where you can create whatever toppings you like. And I'd love to hear in the comments what kind of other toppings you might want to put on your baked sweet potatoes. But today what we're doing, the first thing I did is I chopped up an onion. I put my stove on medium heat and I put some olive oil in my stove and I cooked my onions until they're translucent. So just, they should look like that. They sort of look see-through, they're kind of more yellow. All right, so onions are cooking. I want to add some flavor. I'm going to add, the first thing I'm going to add is chili powder. If you're not a fan of spicy food, you can leave this out, but I love chili powder, so we're going to add, I'm adding about a half a teaspoon. All right, so I'm adding that right onto the onions. Then I'm going to add cumin. Let's see. I'm also someone, when I cook, I kind of, especially with spices, I adjust them to the way I like them, so you don't have to follow this recipe exactly. If you can add more or less, you know, whatever works for you. I'm adding a half a teaspoon of cumin. I'm going to add some ground coriander. Ground coriander gives it a really nice sour flavor, so I'll add some of that. All right. So when you're using ground spices, one way to help express the flavor is to just let it cook in oil for a few seconds, maybe up to a minute. So we're gonna let that cook, and it's cooking when your house becomes really fragrant, so you'll be able to smell them. So a lot of times I'm using all of my senses when I'm cooking. I'm using my nose to smell everything. I'm listening to the sound of the sizzling oil. I can tell if I need more, if it's sizzling. So, you know, as you cook more, you'll start to get familiar about what sounds and smells you should be experiencing. All right, so that is about 30 seconds. The smell gets really intense and then it kind of dies down, and that's when I know I need to add my next ingredient. And we're keeping this really simple today. So I have a can of black beans. So I'll add these. Black beans, as you probably know, are also really nutritious. They pair well with sweet potatoes. I'm just going to cook them until they're warm. Because they're already cooked. They're from a can. So that's that. And we'll give it a few minutes. And then some other things that I will add. I'm going to add some lime juice. I'm going to pour that on at the end, but we can start cutting it up now. So one of the things I do, if you don't know this trick already, is you want to roll the lime back and forth. That's going to help it make it easier for you to get the juice out. All right, and then I'm going to use my juicer. Of course, if you don't have a juicer, this makes it a little bit easier, but you don't actually need one of these kitchen tools. You can use a spoon, just like this, to push everything out. Or you can just use your hands. That works too. Get my lime juice out and not spill it. That would be tragic. Okay. Great. All right, lime juice. Let's check on my beans. Oh, and if you feel like your beans and onions are starting to stick, you can add a little bit more oil, or if you don't want to do that, you can just add some water to it. So I'm just going to add just a splash. Other things that that you can add to this mixture, I wanted to keep it really simple today, but you can add corn to this. You can add a can of diced tomatoes, or if you had fresh cherry tomatoes, if you cut them up, that would be a great thing to add. Bell peppers would be excellent. So, you know, you can get really creative with this. You can add as much or as many things or as few things as you want. Okay, so this seems like it's about done. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And when you're cooking, you want to kind of taste your food to make sure it's seasoned the way that you like it. Perfect. All right, so we have our beans and onions. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to take my sweet potatoes that were already in the oven. I can't talk today. All right, so we have them. We're going to plate this up. Let me grab a fork. Beautiful. I'm going to take, so this is what you're looking for when the sweet potato comes out of the oven. You want this beautiful caramelization that's actually going to taste really sweet. We have, it comes away from the skin very easily, and then I'm just going to do this with my fork to kind of soften it up, so it'll be really easy to get out. Sorry, I'm trying to do this so that you all can see it well on camera. Okay, so we have my sweet potato. I'm going to top it with my bean mixture. Yum. It smells so good in this kitchen. I wish you all can smell all these delicious things. Now, to have some fun, I took some avocado. It's about a half of an avocado. I'm going to top it with avocado. When I went to the grocery store yesterday, I also wanted to grab some cilantro, because that would be delicious on here, but they were all out of cilantro, so no cilantro for us today. I also took a jalapeno. I tend to like really spicy food, so I'm going to cut this up a little bit more into smaller pieces so it's not too overpowering, but if you wanted to keep the jalapeno but you didn't want it to be as spicy, you can actually cook it with the beans, and that will kind of make the flavor a little bit milder. But I really like it like this. So we have our jalapeno on here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of my lime juice. We can pour it, but I think if I poured this whole thing, I risk pouring the whole thing, so it would make it a little bit too soggy. So I'll just do a few spoonfuls of our lime juice. And then I'm going to add, instead of sour cream, which I think would go really well with this, Greek yogurt is an excellent substitute. Still get the sour flavor. You're also getting some of the health benefits from Greek yogurt, the probiotics, the calcium. So we're going to add a little bit of Greek yogurt. Oh, and another thing you can do with this Greek yogurt is make a sauce. So you can mix it with a little bit of hot sauce, or you can take the lime juice and maybe some lime zest and add it with a little bit of salt. So you can get creative with that. All right, and so this is our beautiful sweet potato dish. I'm so excited to eat it. I hope you all try this at home. I also hope that you get a chance to experiment with different toppings to put on your sweet potato, and I'm really excited to hear a little bit about that in the comments. So enjoy the rest of this really beautiful snowy day, and I'll see you next month with our next featured vegetable. Thanks, bye!